So I'm going to start by recording there. The cool thing is I figured out I can actually stream this out to YouTube, which is awesome because they were fighting. I was fighting with it. The weird thing is it was shutting their they have an algorithm, guys, which is something that they use, a piece of software that actually kind of looks for certain things, and they can actually, shut things down. That's how they look for things that are questionable or not. I'm going to title this third grade. Today is the 14th, penny boats. Okay, and this is actually going live right now. We'll see if this does it. Sometimes it shuts me down, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of weird, but I have like 15,000 things going on at once. If the computer freezes, like my video freezes a little bit, don't panic. It's just I am running this MacBook Pro about as hard as I possibly can. Sometimes it shuts me down, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, wait. I have like 15. There we go. Sorry, see, I'm even feeding back into myself. That was weird, wasn't it? That was my YouTube feed feeding back into me, which is, I know it's weird. So, are we going to be on YouTube? Absolutely, you are actually live right now. It is streaming live. I have it in my background going on right now. So, if you don't feel comfortable, you can do that. You are live. The videos go up on YouTube, and this stream actually gets recorded live in time, and then it'll save that stream. So that way, if you want to go back and watch it, you can actually go back and watch it too. Does that sound good enough? So you're slightly YouTube famous right now. Slightly. Okay? So anyway, it's good to see you guys. We're going to talk today about penny boats. Now, last week, we focused on sinking and floating, all right? And we figured out that regular pop actually sinks and diet pop floats gently. Okay, not perfectly, but it does. And it works better in a bigger tub. Hopefully you kind of went back and checked that out. If you did, awesome. If not, try it out sometime. Fill a sink full of water and try a can of regular pop and a can of diet pop. And then maybe even try diet is still like Coke Zero or Pepsi Zero. Try those. See if they sink and float differently. All right? Try out those things. Hopefully you tried some different things. We know that apples kind of float. Peppers float because there's a lot of hollow, empty space. My boss Annette was on last week. She said, try different types of plastic. Some plastics float, some sink. It's all about how much stuff is packed in there. Now, since we talked about that, we are going to need a tote of about, an inch or two full here. And this is my little tote of water. Notice it's about an inch or two, deep. I have it. I know it's shadowy. There's this light back behind me. I have my windows open. It's bright, but it's not super bright in here today. Better than this weekend of cloudiness. So here's my tote of water right here. We're also going to need about, that's my microphone. Sorry, guys. We're going to need, it says 4 to 6 inch piece of tin foil. I made it about this. Now, if you have the heavy stuff, you won't need as much. If you have the thin stuff, this happens to be the really thin stuff. See how it's really flexible? If you get the heavy duty stuff, you'll need a little bit less. If you have the thinner stuff, you might need a little bit more. Question, hang on, I got a question here. What's the name of the channel? You search for me. Somebody asked about the YouTube channel. You search for me, Patrick Bromer. It's me. There's a picture of a guy lighting a gigantic water jug on fire in scrubs. That's me. Okay. That's all you have to search. Search for my first name or search for ESU5. It should show up. Okay. And then you'll need some pennies or some heavy. That was scary. That's why you don't open dresser drawers, especially on the side of that's your wife's. It's a little scary. You don't know what might come flying out of there. I have a whole bunch of coins here. Jar O coins. We're going to see what happens. I'll put that off to the side. So if you don't have any coins or a lot of coins, just use little weights or heavy things. You could try a key. You could try, sorry, I was checking my phone to make sure I didn't have any messages because sometimes teachers and people email me. Keys work. You could try your candies from Easter if the Easter chicken came to see you. Sorry, I mean Easter bunny. I better not say that, otherwise my daughter would freak out. Try different pieces of candy on there. Try that for weight. Maybe it holds like 7 Jolly. What?
Nails or screws.
Nails or screws. Thanks, better half. That's what happens when your wife is over here. You get extra sideline comments. So we're going to do penny boats today, ladies and gentlemen. By far, probably one of the best third grade things. This is one that would work great when we're live and in person. If you do this at home, it is so much fun. Single water, only about an inch or two is fine. This is one where you can design it, test it, design it, test it, design it, test it as much as you absolutely would like to. Foil, yeah, the heavy-duty stuff is kind of expensive. The cheap stuff, you can get a roll for $1 or $2, and you can make as many penny boats. You can make this as complex as you want. You can make this as simple as you want. If you were at Freeman in our Strengths Day, you Freeman people will have a little bit of an advantage because during one of the challenges was to put all those Duplo people and make sure that your Duplo people could survive on a raft for a minute without sinking. That was kind of a lot of fun, all right, and a little wet. The only problem with this will be water, so have your electronics away from your water. That's why I have a towel down, because who knows? Especially when we once we sink our boat, there's going to be water in there, okay? So just a quick thing, we're going to skip all these. We're going to be practicing with this word hypothesis, which is a prediction, and our variable is something that we change. So we talked last time about sinking and floating. We talked about density, which is how much stuff is packed in, okay? If I were to look at, let's say, my t-shirt drawer, it's pretty dense. It's full of a lot of t-shirts, okay? Or the fluffiness of a cat, all of its fur is clumped in there. It's a gigantic fur ball, okay? It's not all scattered unless it's shedding, and that's annoying, all right? The more stuff you have crammed together, the more dense it is. Like if I were to open this would be scary. It would be dense with my wife's clothes and dresses and all those things. The density of her clothing in here compared to my clothing is like double to triple what I have. And it's scary. Right, dear?
Go on with your lesson.
Thank you. All right. So anyway, got to get my shots in. Anyway, so when we look at this, that's just how we pack it in. And our bar of clothing in there is packed pretty tight because there's just so much space in between us. We just have a lot of different clothing that we need for dress clothes for school and things like that. So when we talk about buoyancy, buoyancy is the ability of things to float. Now, ducks and geese in this picture kind of have an advantage because they have a little bit of oil on their feathers that repels that water, okay, kind of like waterproofing. But buoyancy is the ability of it to float. We did that last week with sinking and floating. The other big thing when we think about building boats is we need to think about the total surface area, okay? And I think I mentioned this last week, or maybe I mentioned it in a different class. When it comes to surface area, remember, if somebody pushes with a whole bunch of force with one finger, or if I had, oh, you do have a sewing needle right here. Okay, if I were to take this sewing needle right here, and I were to try to open this without hurting myself. Geez, these people have these fancy schmancy things. I bet it slides out. The box is smarter than me. I don't want to lose it, otherwise I might get, punted into the sun.
They're not regular sewing needles. It's for a sewing machine.
Well, hey, we're close enough.
Yeah.
All right, we're illustrating the point.
It's a machine needle.
So this is a sewing machine needle. So can everybody see how kind of pointy it is right here? I'll put it, maybe if I put it back behind. Is that better? There you go. So we can see kind of how pointy that is. If I were to take this sewing machine needle and I were to poke it to my skin, okay, all of the pressure of that is going to be focused right on the tip of that sewing needle. And if we know that, the tips of sewing needles really hurt, don't they? Or any needle really, really, really hurts because it's a whole lot of force put into one place. And we all know that that kind of sort of hurts. But if I were to take that needle or something and turn it sideways and press on you, it wouldn't hurt as much. So instead of pushing on you with your finger, I push on you with my hand, the same amount of force, okay? All of this is spread out, okay? It'd be like getting punched like this versus getting hit like this. The punch is going to hurt more because more of the force is concentrated right here. This, all of the force is spread out. That's why when people are professional divers, they want a small surface area when they dive, so they create minimal splash. But if you're trying to win a belly flop competition, you don't want to look like you're diving, right? You want to look like a gigantic, flat, flopping, massive surface area, so you end up with the best belly flop you can. So obviously this guy's guitar boat, probably going to work well. So we did sink or float last week, and we'll worry about that. So what we would do, okay, and I'm going to kind of do this fairly quickly, is you're going to take your piece of foil. If you happen to have one with you, great. You can work along with me. Those of you who don't, guess what? You'll just kind of have to watch and do this at a different time. And you are going to test it as many times as you'd like. You're going to build it, test it, build it, and test it until you come up with the best design. The foil should keep most of the water out, and we'll show you kind of how to work with that. You need to make sure you drain your boat each time before you do that. And remember also, if your boat is wet, does water add mass? And the answer is yes, it does. So what I need to do is switch videos over here. All right. Morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. There's a lot of you here. Great. Can you guys see my thing here? All right. So if I were to do this, any ideas on what I should do first? Ideas on what I should do first? Go ahead, fire some ideas. Just type out an idea, throw it in the chat thing real quick. You don't have to send it privately, just set it out there. Throw out ideas. What should I do first with my building? What do you think? Any ideas? Just click on that chat button, then you can type in your ideas. Fold it, okay? Should I fold it straight in half? What do we think I should do? Fold it is a great idea. I always like folding. Is there a particular shape I should aim for? Any shape you want me to aim for? I'm crowdsourcing ideas from you guys. A circle? Ooh, circles are great. Kind of like a circle raft. Like that. It's going to be tough to fold a circle. Ooh, an oval. I like the oval idea. Oval might be good. Curl the sides. Great. I like that. Okay. Other ideas. Ooh, a triangle. I could probably pull off a triangle. A square. Okay. Let's see. Round. Fold all the way around. Rectangle. So let's try. I'm going to try kind of a triangle and a rectangle. So first of all, if I think about a boat or a raft, I need good size, don't I? Now, this is very thin foil. Should I fold it one time up like this? Do you think that's going to be okay? Probably not. I'm going to fold it a couple times, and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. All right. And I'm going to fold this side. I'm going to thicken up these edges a little bit. And if you happen to have your piece of foil, go ahead and fold what you think. If you have a piece of foil. I'm folding my ideas. I'm crowdsourcing my ideas. Rectangle. If you do go get your own piece of foil, be careful. It is sharp. I'm going to fold these ends first. I just tore my boat. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt me. Ah, my boat's tearing. Okay, see what I mean with the thin stuff? Now, somebody mentioned a triangle. I'm going to fold a couple of triangles over. Fold these edges. I'm going to fold a triangle here. Ooh, double it. Somebody said double it. Ooh, good idea. I did kind of double it. I'm going to start with a basic idea. I'm going to try a triangle here. Triangle here. So kind of have a weird hexagon, right? So, ooh, I'm going to have a problem up there, aren't I? Ooh, I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to need to do this. What if I do that? Do you think that'll work? That looks a little bit better. Oh, my sides are a little weird. What do we think about that? That look pretty good? Kind of terrible? All right, should we see if it floats first? Let's see if it floats. All right, key thing to start with is, does this thing actually float? Woohoo! It floats. Okay, successful thing one. Now, I can see some problems, can't I? Do you see this corner right here? Yeah, that corner. I'm going to try to fold this up a little bit. But my concern is I'm going to get some leaking over here. So I'm going to grab some coins. Hopefully this isn't too expensive. I'm going to start with a nickel. I've got one nickel. And I'm going to keep adding until it sinks. Well, there's 15 cents down the drain. Dime, dime, couple pennies. Uh-oh, I saw a bubble there. That was scary. I need to get that key out of the way there. I got a key. Here, I'll throw a key on there. Got another key. Hey, this isn't doing as bad as I thought it would be doing. I thought this would be a lot worse. How would I thought it would be a lot worse? Raise your hand if you thought it would be 10 times worse than what it actually is. Perfect, good. Yeah, you can say that Patrick would have made a failure, right? I've got one advantage, though. What's my advantage? I have thrown that in there. I have a lot of... Oh, I sunk it. You sunk my battleship. So it looked like I'm going to take one quarter out there. And then I'm going to dump all my water out. Okay. So I managed to have a boat that held 3 quarters, 2 dimes. Yeah, I'm going to move this here real quick. It held this much weight. So, actually it held 2 keys. So 2 quarters, no, 3 quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4 nickels, 3 dimes, 3 pennies, and 2 keys. How many thought that was a lot more than I actually would have had? A lot. Okay, a lot more. I thought it would be pretty terrible because it was so thin. But what was the advantage of this one? What was my biggest advantage? Was it narrow or was it wider? It was a lot wider, wasn't it? Okay. This is hard. Usually when we're in Zoom meetings, I can actually ask for your opinion and you guys can throw that back at me. But yeah, wide is the best idea here because I have more surface area. Now, it wasn't the prettiest, right? It didn't look great, but it worked pretty well. It's kind of like a raft, a life raft basically that you'd see kind of floating in the ocean. The best thing I could probably do to improve my design is fold my sides up a little bit more, right? And then work on this edge. But once I fold these sides up, what happens to the amount of space I have? Does it go up or does it go down? So now my amount of surface area goes down, even though I've protected my edges. So there looks like there's a give and take. Do you think this one will work? Should I try this one? Yeah, let's try this one real quick. Let's see. Let's see if it holds the same amount of weight. Okay, so I doubled up my edges. I've shrank it a little bit more. I'm going to see if this actually holds the same amount of weight. Start with my 3 quarters. I've got 1, 2, 3 nickels. I got a key. I think it's sinking. I've got uh-oh. I had a leak somewhere. Uh-oh. Huh. I had a leak somewhere. That one didn't hold as much, did it? So either I damaged it or something by shrinking the amount of surface area, I ended up making it worse, didn't I? And so there's a lot of different things you can think about with this. Maybe you want to try it with a bigger piece. So I actually was more successful with my boat when it looked like this, when it was spread out. So I've kind of given you a few things to think about, all right? And I know it's hard to do right now. If we were in our regular classrooms and those teachers who are here, we could actually build it and test it. I know there's a couple teachers here. The teachers who are here, what's the most number of pennies that you've seen held by penny boats by 3rd graders? I know there was one that pushed 50 easily one year. Not too much trouble. I think I saw Mrs. Henneberg. I think I saw Miss Seabright. I can't remember. Mrs. Henneberg said there's one over 100 pennies. Think about that, 100 pennies. That's pretty impressive. I think they had a sheet of heavy-duty aluminum foil like this. Mrs. Seabrant said about 50 or so. So if you're breaking that 50 to 100 penny mark, are you doing really well? You bet. Okay. The teachers who are here, were there any design suggestions you might want to throw at them? Any suggestions? I've thrown mine. I like a lot of surface area. I like a wide spread. Maybe not so much the sides. You know, pinch those corners are always a winner. Let's see. We did use heavy duty. Yep. So it says, Mrs. Henneberg said from Diller says, we did use heavy duty aluminum foil and it had a lot of surface area. Those kids that had more success. So unfortunately, I don't have the heavy stuff here. I have the thin stuff here. But it worked pretty well with the thin stuff. Could you try thin aluminum foil versus heavy aluminum foil? I've seen some kids use the canoe idea, or like a kayak or a canoe. Yeah, it floats really nice, but the one issue that shows up is that it doesn't necessarily hold the most weight because it kind of pushes all of it down towards the middle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and stop here, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, we are going to gather up and we are going to, oh goodness, I can't remember. Could you run downstairs for me on the board? There's a list of activities we're doing. Forgot. Yes, on the calendar board. So I'm trying to remember what we're doing next week. I had it. I could look it up, but I don't want to like jam my screens here. I don't want to pull down too much. Oh, that's what I want to do. There we go. I clicked the wrong one. Sorry, guys. You'll be up on the YouTubes. Your faces will be there. Sorry, I forgot to I pinned my video to myself, not spotlighted. That's what I wanted to do. All right. So next week, here's what's going to happen. We've talked about buoyancy. We did sink or float last week. We know what sinks or floats. This week, we did penny boats to talk about buoyancy. And then next week, oh, perfect timing. Let's see. Beautiful. Perfect. We'll do that one. All right. What we'll do next week is we will, yeah, we'll do that. All right. We're going to do tornado bottles, which is great because the weather is changing and going weird. Here is what you'll need next week. So listen carefully. I'll send an email. Well, your teachers have the email of, or the list of everything, but here's what you'll need. So listen carefully. What you'll need, you're going to need a 20-ounce or 16-ounce bottle of water. Fill it about 2/3 full of water. Okay. If you have a little bit of food coloring, put a couple drops of food coloring in there, and I'll show you how to do that. And then if you have glitter, put glitter on standby so it's ready to go later. And I'll show you how to use the glitter in there, and we'll create tornado bottles. I'm sure you've probably seen it, but we're going to talk weather next week. All right. So 20-ounce bottle filled about 2/3 to 3/4 the way full of water. Some food coloring nearby, or go ahead and drop it in there. Make sure you have the cap so you can screw it on. And then finally, have glitter nearby if you have it. If you don't, no big deal. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop the streaming real quick.